balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick, and a very Merry Christmas to all of my Whiskey Warrior P1s, friends, guests, family members, and, of course, America. Folks, the time is here. We have arrived. I know we still have, Christmas Eve tomorrow, so hopefully you're getting your last-minute shopping done, you're getting your last minute gifts together, and for those of you who are headed off to travel, please do me a favor and be very, very cautious and careful, because of the fact that, obviously many things occur during the time of travel. I mean, travel is that's a big thing, and I just want to make sure that you guys are safe and that you're able to come back, and see us, okay? That's just one of the things. So Amy obviously is heading off, so good night to Amy, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. So there you go. All right. No promo tonight, not going to do it, but we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is going to be led by none other than My News. My News is going to lead us. So please, if you are of mind, stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, and make sure you put your hand over your heart, and let's follow along with My News in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, thank you for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge heard on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing it. And once you do, take that recording, whatever it is, and send it off to me. You can send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Well, I have cuddled up tonight with my bourbon cream and as a bit of a replacement for Nog, but this is a bourbon cream. This is the Buffalo Trace bourbon cream. In fact, I finished the bottle off, so we're going to have to go and get more tomorrow before the festivities, but that's what's in the glass tonight. Straight. Nothing extra. Oh, that is some good stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. It's great. It comes out around Christmas time, and it's a wonderful little thing. All right, I've got some Christmas pictures. I've got a story about one of the all-time great, one of the longer-running animated specials that from my childhood, from a lot of people's childhood, but there's a backstory to it, to where it almost didn't come to be. And I've got that story for you. But first, before we get too far into the program, I do have some news to talk to you about. And unfortunately, not everything is good news. So this is just ridiculous. But we're going to go ahead and get through some of that news, and then we'll finish off with the other stuff, the happy stuff, later on. So, first up in the list is, well, the House Ethics Committee decided to drop a fake bombshell. I'm calling it fake, and I'll explain in a minute, but a fake bombshell with regards to Gates, Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is no longer a part of the House. He dropped out of the Attorney General race or nomination. He did it on his own, apparently, after discussing things with Trump. And so the House Ethics Committee realistically had absolutely no reason. There's no benefit in doing this whatsoever. There's no benefit at all. And in fact, Gaetz may even have a potential legal battle that he might be able to run against the House because he is a private citizen now. He was a private citizen before they released this. And they voted originally to not release it, but then they went ahead and voted again and said that they were going to release it. Well, they decided to drop it on this Christmas Eve. It's a mess. But here you can see in the Epoch Times that they released its report into Matt Gaetz. Now, the left, of course, is just lapping this up because of the fact that the House Ethics Committee report does discuss some things that they think potentially could possibly be, laws being broken, but, they're not illegal. They're not like a court of law and so on and so forth. So, here's the gist. All right. You're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about it from all the left-wing sycophants that are out there. You're going to hear all about it. But here's the thing. One, Matt Gaetz has denied all wrongdoing in all of this. Okay? And that's one of the lines here in the piece. But here's the key. 2 paragraphs. This is down, 4 or 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About the 6th or 7th paragraph into the piece, which, not that the Epoch Times does this on a regular basis, but this is typical of a news organization. This is the part that's really, really important. The committee cited potential violations of federal and state laws, including regulations that prohibit obstruction of Congress and tampering with witnesses in a congressional proceeding. And Florida law makes unauthorized possession of controlled substances a criminal offense. Now, here's the key and the only thing that actually really matters here. The committee said the Department of Justice originally instructed it to defer its review until the department, meaning the Department of Justice, had completed its investigation. Now, here's the part that none of the mainstream media leftist outlets and any of those leftist sycophants who are out there are going to tell you. In February 2023, the committee resumed its investigation after, and this is the key, okay? Here it is right here. Here's the statement. After the DOJ closed its investigation into Gaetz without bringing charges. Folks, they didn't bring charges because the people who were claiming this, okay, the evidence wasn't there. The witnesses were not credible, apparently. It was unsubstantiated allegations that were brought. So the only thing that's in this report is essentially a bunch of innuendo and could say potentially outright lies. I'm not saying that for sure, but I mean, again, all of this is basically it's a smear campaign. The idea here is they're not going after Matt Gaetz anymore because honestly, Matt Gaetz, he's out of the House. He's done. He retired. Resigned, whatever it was. He got it out, and he's just like, hey, you know what? I'm done. Hopefully, I would imagine, to try and avoid this kind of thing. But this is the problem. The DOJ, the corrupt DOJ, the corrupt Merrick Garland DOJ already investigated all of this and figured out that they didn't have enough to be able to charge Gaetz. And that's the thing. Okay. I mean, this is a typical playbook of the left, and they're going to keep going back to it. You know, whether or not Matt Gaetz, he admits to the fact that he did pay some of the women. He didn't pay them for sex, but he did pay them. In fact, he even says it down just here, just in a little bit. He wrote on X on December 18th. He goes, not even a campaign finance violation, and the people investigating me hated me. In my single days, I often sent funds to women I dated, even some I never dated, but who asked. I dated several of these women for years. I never had any sexual contact with someone under 18. Any claim that I would be destroyed, any claim that I have would be destroyed in court, which is why no such claim was ever made in court. It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank and smoked more than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now. So there is a potential, by the way, and in actuality, he has filed a lawsuit today on the 23rd right here. Gaetz filed a lawsuit which asked the judge to issue an emergency order to block the committee from releasing the report. This was prior to them releasing it, all right? But now, he argued in the lawsuit that now that he's resigned from Congress, the House Ethics Committee is reaching beyond its constitutional authority because it lacks jurisdiction over him as a private citizen. This is why they can't impeach a president after the president has left office, by the way. Okay? This is why. And Gaetz' lawsuit, filed in federal court in Washington, names the Ethics Committee and its chair, Representative Michael Guest, who is a Republican from Mississippi, as defendants. We're going to have to see where this thing goes. But if there's nothing to this, if all of this is just innuendo and suggestion, and you know, the DOJ has already cleared him basically by not bringing any charges. So, yeah. Kind of a crappy bombshell, to be honest with you, to be dropping. I mean, it's sort of the horse has already left the barn with Mark Gaetz. He's gone. He's done. It's out. Why even bother striking at him? Well, plain and simple. The reason why they're trying to strike at him still is because they want to try and discredit Donald Trump in his choice in terms of who he is picking for his cabinet. Because, as you recall, Matt Gaetz was one of the first people that Donald Trump immediately put out in his series of announcements for nominations. What a crappy thing to do. But hey, that's the way politics are. Speaking of politics, some of the leftist folks, and I've shown you a few of those people, like, what was his name? Clinzilla. I can't think of his first name, like Charlie or Clark or whatever. I can't even think of his name. Clint, whatever it was. Anyway, Clinzilla, who put out that he felt that he was doing people a disservice, or he felt like he was not going to do them a disservice by talking about, essentially talking about the Biden lack of intelligence and so on, decline and all of that stuff. And he apologized. I showed you that video. He apologized on video saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. I really should have paid attention, blah, blah, blah. Questioned more," is how he put it. But instead, now we've got even a powerhouse fundraiser from the DNC who is essentially announcing the exit from the Democrat Party. Take a look at this. This in Fox News. Lindy Lee said that she was ostracized from the party and labeled, get this, a whore after criticizing Kamala Harris. So Lee is a prominent DNC powerhouse fundraiser individual. She announced that she is leaving the Democrat Party, which she referred to as a cult, after facing an onslaught of internal attacks for criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris last week. She's a Democrat strategist, serves as both a surrogate for Harris and a member of the DNC's National Fundraising Committee, where she raised tens of millions of dollars on behalf of Democrat candidates. She also questioned, by the way, in a couple of different interviews, she was questioning where all the money went that they had raised. And she was questioning the payments that were going out as well. She frequently also appeared on the air to stump for Harris originally. Well, she became a target of the left's attacks earlier this month when she expressed support for President-elect Donald Trump's Defense Secretary nominee, Pete Hegseth. And as usual, okay, the left, when you do something that that they don't like, you immediately become the target of all of their attacks. That's the phrase, the left eats their own. And this is essentially what's happening here. So apparently she had a appearance on Fox News that pushed her rightward, and it was because of the party's vitriolic response to that really pushed her. She said this on Piers Morgan's Uncensored. Here's what she said. She told Piers, "This past week has been harrowing for me. This Saturday I went on Fox and Friends and I said the Democrats have a stench of loser hanging over them." Okay? As soon as I said that, there were boycott campaigns against me, unblock, unfollow campaigns. She told Fox and Friends that she felt Harris was indulging in delusions of making a political comeback amid party buzz of the vice president staging a 2026 gubernatorial or possibly even a 2028 presidential run, and that the Democratic Party was plagued by the stench of loser after November's defeat. The comment cost her, now listen to this, 40,000 followers in 4 days, prompted an onslaught of slanderous attacks from fellow Democrats. The same people she spent her whole career defending, she told Morgan. She goes, "People have called me a whore, the C word. They asked for me to be deported." Yeah. She was also accused of working as a communist spy. The accusation, that particular accusation, was offensive to her, she said, considering her family history. She said, quote, "They're calling me a spy for the regime that killed my great-grandfather, and these are the people who are calling themselves social justice warriors. They're going headfirst into racism anytime someone dares to disagree with them. I want to be a part of the team that says men are men, women are women, men shouldn't play in women's sports. All I have to do," oh, and by the way, she said that the reaction itself was eye-opening for her, telling Morgan that she feels like the party who claims to occupy the moral high ground has now been unmasked. Welcome to reality, Lindy Lee. We've been trying to tell you folks this for I don't know how long. Democrat Party is the party of racism, sexism, whatever kind of ism. They are not the inclusive party. They are not the welcoming party. They are not the party of the American people. They are the party. They are the party of everything that is wrong with America. Literally. Yeah, she continued by saying that all these so-called Democrats, the party of inclusion, the party of diversity, masks off, and it's even worse because they pretend to occupy the moral high ground. They pretend to be loving and caring and embracing of diversity, but all of a sudden, when I dare to utter any criticisms of the goddess Kamala Harris, I get ostracized. Me, after having raising tens of millions of dollars for the party. She points out that the donors that she got for the Democrats are pissed. And it's her responsibility, she believes, to ask what the hell happened with their money. They're legitimate questions. But no, in the cult, you cannot ask questions. Leaving the Democratic Party, or even questioning the Democratic Party is like leaving a cult. It's terrifying. I don't want to be a part of this craziness anymore. They're accelerating my rightward shift. Yeah. She also talked about how Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves for driving her and other prominent fundraisers out. Yep. So, yeah. The awokeness is coming, people. The awokeness is coming. It's here. We're starting to see the elements, the crack of the facade in the Democrat Party is opening up, and it is, well, glorious in my terminology, in my thought process. I love it when I see the left eat their own, because it just further proves the truth, which is essentially that the Democrat Party and the people within it and anyone who subscribes to the Democrats, they all are on the wrong side of this entire thing. Well, it's not just Lindy Lee, by the way, that is the problem. Now, this guy, I got to tell you, when he first got elected, and he's not even like my senator, but he has started to actually come around, and it's kind of interesting that he's now, believe me, he is nowhere near our side. All right, nowhere near. But he's kind of like a useful Democrat in the fact that he all of a sudden, it's like the more that he's been from his medical issue, that he has started to like grow a brain all of a sudden. Now, this is just amazing. Okay. 3 Chevy asked over on Rumble, Rick, did you think 4 years ago it would be like this? No, actually, I didn't. I'll be completely honest with you. This is sort of unexpected. I mean, I kind of had a feeling that that Trump would be back in the White House, but I wasn't aware of I wasn't like, shall we say, I was hoping for this, but I wasn't counting on it. Let's put it that way. That's the best way to do it. But getting back to the story, Fetterman has started to, occasionally spit out some common sense and logic. One of them was this. Those hoping Trump fails are rooting against the nation. Okay. Senator John Fetterman again discusses Trump's transition on ABC's This Week. What a place to go on about it. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat from Pennsylvania, says he hopes President-elect Trump is successful and spoke out against those who feel otherwise. Fetterman appeared on Sunday's ABC's This Week. His more than 10-minute sit-down segment was pre-recorded with co-anchor Jonathan Karl. Okay. I'm not rooting against him, the Democratic senator said. If you're rooting against the president, you're rooting against the nation. And I'm not, and I'm not ever going to be where I want a president to fail. So country first. I know that's maybe like a cliche, but it happens to be true. The senator told Karl he never believed Trump's movement was about fascism, while noting that it was Vice President Kamala Harris's prerogative to call Trump a fascist during her campaign. He goes, fascism, that's not a word that regular people use, I think people are going to decide who is the candidate that's going to protect and project my version of the American way of life. And that's what happened. So apparently Fetterman has been meeting with Trump cabinet nominees, noting that his decision about whether to vote to confirm the candidates will stem from an open mind and an informed perspective. Yep. So there seems to be at least a slight change in tune in some Democrats anyway. But the question is going to be more so whether or not this is going to continue for the next, 2 years minimum, 4 years, and possibly even longer. Whether or not the American people are actually going to see all of this. And believe it or not, there's a lot riding on the next 2 years. So much so that certain Democrats and long-term Democrats are trying to entice people who work for the government to be the tip of the spear in the resistance. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, this came out in Politico magazine. This is an opinion piece written by Max Stier, or Steyer, however it's pronounced. Dear federal workers, don't quit. So what he's talking about here is all of the U.S. civil servants that are potentially going to be let go because of Doge or, any of these other kinds of initiatives that Donald Trump has going. And he's basically saying, hey, all of you people who might try to fire you or quit, a president who supposedly openly disdains you. Now, he said he openly disdains you. I'm saying supposedly because it's a bunch of crap. But he's telling these people, stay in your jobs. He claims to have already heard from many of you who would rather try your luck on the job market, which, by the way, the job market, just as a side note, there's a report out. I didn't include it in this, but you could look it up. There's a report out that basically shows that foreign-born workers gained all of the jobs that Biden is claiming for Americans. So, yeah. Anyway, he's like, he continues and says, would rather try your luck on the job market than wait for President-elect Donald Trump's promised purge. He's asking and pleading for these people to stay. He says it's part of a larger war, one waged throughout American history over what the federal government can and should be. Is it an apolitical source of expertise and professionalism, or is it a partisan weapon for presidents to use for their own political and economic ends? Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. It's supposed to be apolitical, regardless. When you work in the federal government, you are supposed to be apolitical. You are not supposed to be a bureaucrat running the government. The federal government is supposed to be run by 3 branches, 2 on a day-to-day basis and 1 only when it's needed. Okay? The 2 branches of government that are in place on a day-to-day basis is the presidency and, to a much smaller extent, the Congress. The Congress is supposed to set out part of the plan. The president executes the plan, and the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, ensures that the plan fits within the constitutional boundaries that were set out. This whole idea that the bureaucracies run our government is anti-constitutional and anti-American. And that's exactly the problem. So you're sitting here, this guy's sitting here advocating for all these people to stay in government jobs. No, we, the people, actually voted Donald Trump in to get them out. We don't want career bureaucrats running the country anymore. We want it to get back to its constitutional roots for Congress to take back control and command and control of what it's supposed to be doing, for the presidency, or in other words, the executive branch, to basically enforce whatever laws that the Congress puts together, and nothing more, no less, no changing of laws, no magically creating laws out of their, pulling it out of their keisters. Okay, that's not the way our federal government is supposed to run. And yet that is exactly what this man is attempting to try and tell these people to do. Because here, in this last statement that he puts, by staying in your position as long as you can defend the work of our democracy. Well, guess what? We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. And that's a bunch of bullcrap. Yeah. He's talking about, oh, when cronyism reigned. Oh, you mean to tell me like when the Biden administration was in office? Wait, really? Yeah. Tired of this. The American people are tired of this. We're tired of the idea that these people have that, hey, yo, all you federal government employees, you got to stay in your jobs because, you know, you got to make sure that you save democracy. We failed on the voting front. We failed. So now you guys have to take up the banner. No, you don't. They need to do their jobs in an apolitical fashion. Okay? That's what they need to do. And he kind of continues on without this, and he talks about, well, you must do your best to weather the storm because history shows us that what will happen if the Trump administration succeeds in twisting the government into a partisan machine. Hello? What do you think the Democrats have been doing for the last 40 or 50 years, people? All you have to do is take a look at the Constitution, read the Constitution. In fact, this fantastic Constitution right here, or this is a copy of it, but anyway, this fantastic Constitution, you want to read it and understand it and know about it. That thing right there tells you what the government is supposed to do. And believe me, we are way outside of our constitutional boundaries. Way outside. Yeah. He talks about President Andrew Jackson instituting a spoils system that awarded federal jobs to his supporters and partisans. What the hell do you think the Democrats have done? They do that all the time. Well, technically the Republicans do too. But the Democrats are definitely the larger offenders of it. Yeah. He continues on, rather than qualified professionals who earned their positions on merit. What the hell do you think DEI actually is? There's a reason why that acronym is stated as didn't earn it. Democrats are for people who are not qualified. That's the point. The only qualifications that those people have are they fit some intersectional checkbox somewhere. And that's the whole point. This guy writing this opinion piece in a left-wing mag is definitely out of touch with reality. And he needs to go backpedal and take a look at what is really and truly going on here in the face of our country's change coming up in January 20th. Take a look, read the piece, or reread it, if you'd like. If you want to laugh a little bit here and there. But, yeah. All right. Well, folks, I put out a challenge. I forgot to mention it on Saturday, but that's okay. I still got my Whiskey Warrior P1 still came through for me. in 2 more days. And by the way, I mean, some of us go and we actually start the whole Christmas celebrations, Christmas Eve. For an example, my family is actually, because of the situation that we have with everybody, the only time that we could actually get together as a complete whole unit is Christmas Eve. So this year, being different from years past, we are going to be opening our gifts and things like that on Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day. And that's just fine. Whatever your traditions actually are, it's a good thing to try and continue with traditions. In fact, a traditional action that I love is watching some of the Peanuts classics for both Thanksgiving as well as Christmas, not to mention the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And I have more on that here in just a minute. But another tradition of Christmas is, of course, decorations. Putting up lights in the neighborhood. Some people actually like double their electrical bill when they do this because they go all out. And so my challenge out there, albeit it was a short-lived challenge, but my challenge out to you was because of the fact that I wanted to see some of the lights that are around in my fan land, we'll call it. So I wanted to see all of that. All right. And you guys helped deliver. I have some photos here. I have some photos here from 3 Chevy. I have photos from BAM. I have photos, a couple of photos from My News and a couple of photos from Mark Lanham over on Facebook. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and get that started. Sorry, I had that open. I didn't mean to. Let's get rid of that. All right. So let's go ahead and start off with, we'll start off with 3 Chevys set up here. So 3 Chevys sent me a couple of different ones. We're going to go ahead and start off with the first one. Where is it? There it is. So this here, he sent me a little story. So here we go. Merry Christmas, Rick, and all the Whiskey Warriors. Here are 3 classic Christmas photos I took when I drove through the neighborhood we used to live in when we lived in St. Petersburg, Florida. These are not staged or photoshopped in any way. This is a straight-up Christmas nativity scene with a manger, wise men, baby Jesus. Yeah. Well, take a look at that. That's perfect. That's fantastic. Well, yeah, it's fantastic except for one thing. And you can't see it because I haven't shown it to you yet. But take a little bit closer look to this edge of the nativity scene. What do you see that may not belong there? He says you can't make this stuff up. Now look real hard. I'm gonna give you a little clue here in just a second. Look really hard. What do you think might not have quite been part of the nativity? I spy with my little eye something over here in the corner. What is that? That's right. You made it up. They threw in the Confederate battle flag, also known as the rebel flag. 3 Chevy says, you can't make this stuff up. As Jeff Foxworthy would say, if your nativity scene features a Confederate flag, you might be a redneck. Oh, all right. So he continues on here and shows us the nativity scene. And obviously he's got some pictures up in front. This one's a little bit more of a straight shot on. But this photo here is Chevy's house of his own. He says, here's my Christmas lights this year. And for my Florida girl wife, I made Santa's sleigh being pulled by flamingos. Take a look at that. He's got the little sleigh with the flamingos right there in front. Yeah. He says, because why not? Well, there you go. Oh, we are, you guys in Florida, you guys have a lot of those pink flamingo things going on. I just got to say, I love it. I love it, though. It's great. It's awesome because it's non-traditional kinds of things, but it fits. It fits with what's going on. Now, here, this is fantastic. Okay. He's got the television and wait, what do I spy? Oh, he's like, I don't know if he's necessarily, yeah, well, anyway, that's perfect for Christmas. It's American perspective. So apparently, this is his his wife's mid-century modern village. And he does call out, by the way, the fireplace down below. And the TV up above. Yeah, that it is a little cringy for me because of the heat rising and getting into the TV. I get it, but it's common practice in residential areas. So, plus it looks like the mantle kind of breaks that up a little bit. So I doubt the TV is actually getting anything more than what it would in the room anyway. But he's like, he goes, Rick, I know as a tech person, you probably don't like the TV or the fireplace, but there really wasn't any other way to do it. And he does say that the fireplace was a retirement present courtesy of the company that he worked for and something called award points. Anyway, he says, he continues on here. He says, we haven't had a tree for several years because of the cats. And the last few years we have spent Christmas with family in South Florida. And then he follows on and says, Merry Christmas to all the Whiskey Warriors from Central Florida, Mr. and Mrs. 3 Chevy. Now there's one more. She's got more of the village here over the stereo. So there you go. That's great. That's fantastic. 3 Chevy says, heat from that fireplace is more of a suggestion. 1 foot is the recommended space. Yeah. And Bonnie pointed out that it is electric. I know it's electric. It's cool. But anyway. All right. So there's 3 Chevy's contribution. I apologize for the blackness right here about where my hand is. One of my lights just went out. So it's, I'll move out of the way if I need to. But anyway. All right. So let's move on to the next person. The next person who submitted stuff was, Bam. There it is. Go ahead and get rid of that. Bring up Bam. There we go. Now we got it right. So there's Bam's. Okay. Now Bam's has a little story to go along with it as well, which is, hey, Rick, the pics I sent are pics of the Dodger house. They do this every year. The owner makes all those cutouts and paints them himself. That was last year. I think the only thing different this year was he added apparently one of the players who's an Asian player from the Angels. She doesn't know his name. Says, we will probably go on Christmas Eve, but then it's too late to send you pics. So I wanted to submit these. So this was last year's picture. But that's cool. I know not everyone will be happy about the Dodgers, but I love it. My dad loved the Dodgers, so it brings good memories for me. Not a good video taker, so you show the ones you want, and I might have sent in some duplicates. No big deal. So here we go. So there's the Dodger house. Now, this is something that's kind of cool. I've seen people do this before. Now, I told you not too long ago, what I want to do eventually is one of my dreams is to set up an entire display like this, set it to music, do the flashing, you know, the lights and everything else, and then have it finish with the Linus speech. I want to do that someday, and maybe I'll get my dream of doing so when I finally get into the place. But you can take a look here. Obviously, it's blue and white, a lot of blue and white. We've got some pictures of some of the Dodgers playing in the field, I guess, and over here in the corner, they got a wish. Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is the Dodgers to win the World Series again. That's great. And then here's another Dodgers fan. Boy, he really is a good artist. I got to tell you, I'm envious of that. But then there it is. There's a little bit more of a wider shot. I'll get to the videos in just a second. There's a, it's time for a Dodger Christmas. So this is fantastic. They go all out. Welcome to the Dodger house, they call it. That's cool. We had there was a family that owned a bakery here in the area. And they decorated every year. They decorated their house. And what their challenge was to add lights every single year. And the challenge to everybody else was to drive by and try and figure out what new lights or what new decoration had been added. So that was pretty cool. And then here, it looks like the sign, it's going to go a little grainy, but it looks like the sign points out the direction and length to the North Pole, to Dodger Stadium, where hot cocoa might be, and of course, the Dodger house is where you would use that exit. So that's pretty cool. And here is another celebrating the championship, the World Series champions sign. So that's pretty cool. And they got some more here. And then we go back to that. All right. I'll show you guys the videos here in just a minute. Next up, we have, this is from My News. So My News put in a couple, but no stories. So this is just, this looks like a house that apparently Santa Claus, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but Santa Claus apparently is drunk because he slipped on his ass. He's being helped up by a penguin, or attempting to be helped up by a penguin. Anyway, it's pretty funny. But, you know, I mean, whether you put on a little bit of lights, a lot of lights, it's just fun. Now, we sometimes, what we have done in the past with the kids is we've, you know, jumped into the truck, grabbed some hot cocoa and stuff, and then go and like drive through the neighborhood and try to find everything. Yeah, it looks like Bonnie's right. Santa had way too much eggnog. Anyway. Oh, so there's that. And then here looks like it's gifts of some kind. At My News, you may have to help me on this one. But it looks like there's like some gift wrapping. Obviously Christmas stuff going on here on the table. This is fantastic. This looks like, is this at your American Legion Hall? Is this at the American Legion? Could be. Anyway, so there's that. My News says that house was one of her neighbors, which again is really cute. I mean, it's fun to watch and see how people do this, how they decorate for Christmas. So, all right, and last one up for the pictures. Oh, Shirley Butler over on Facebook says the penguin is actually picking Santa's pocket. Oh, and that last one was the raffle that they had at the VFW. I couldn't remember if it was the VFW or the American Legion. But anyway, so this one here also comes from Florida. Okay. What gave it away? The pink? pink flamingo. This one is submission by Mark Lanham. Thank you, Mark. And let's see. There's another photo, another couple photos from the great state of Florida. So here's here's some snowman candy canes on the beach. Very appropriate. Very appropriate. And there, of course, is a pink flamingo tree. That's awesome. You guys and your pink flamingos, let me tell you. Oh, look at that. They got like little balls all over it. And there's the tree with the little balls, the little beach balls. That's awesome. Very creative. Very cool. Very cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so really quickly, we've got a couple of videos, and then I'll get on to my last thing, but I got to get the video window up. All right. So, first things first is 3 Chevy. He took a short video of his lights because the picture itself apparently does not do it justice, meaning that you have to see it in actual action. So here it is. Yep, there we go. And you can see the lights are flashing along the roof line. They're doing this. See, this is kind of sort of what I want to do, you know, but I want to get mine going with like all kinds of lights. And it looks like he's got some sort of a disco ball going that's reflecting off the roof and the front of the house. And just fantastic. Love the display. This is just fantastic. It's great. Good job, 3 Chevy. Really enjoyed that. I like seeing it. And now, these next two are at the Dodger House. Okay, so these are at the Dodger House, submitted by My News. Oh, 3 Chevy says that's a laser beam. So it's a laser beam that was doing the green and the disco ball kind of thing. But anyway, so now let's take a look at the Dodger House. I don't know if you can hear that. Playing Blue Christmas by Elvis. Looks like it's a there's a lot of people there. It looks like that's like a neighborhood fan favorite. Here's another one, a little bit farther out, so there's no real music to it, but a little bit closer look at the house from the front. And look at that. It's on a corner, too. Oh, that's even better. Oh, perfect. I love it. That's right. Blue Christmas by Elvis. That's fantastic. Yep. All right. So thank you all for those submissions. I do appreciate it. That is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I appreciate it completely. You guys did a great job. I would love to bring this back at another time, for sure. So next year, we'll do it next year. All right. One of the things in terms of flamingos pulling the sleigh. That's right. Yep. So one of the things that I like to do that is a family tradition, it's a family tradition for me anyway, is always the Christmas specials, the Christmas animation specials, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. And of course, as always, the pinnacle, A Charlie Brown Christmas. Now, that Charlie Brown Christmas special actually had a chance that it may not have been played. In fact, the story goes that, and believe me, it's hard to imagine, especially somebody my age who grew up on Charlie Brown, because the initial airing, by the way, was in 1965. But if you can't imagine, I mean, this special may not have even happened. It almost didn't make it to the air. And why? Well, first of all, the producer got a call out of the blue, and the Peanuts special, this was the first Peanuts special, by the way. It came before the Thanksgiving and the Great Pumpkin ones, okay? But Lee Mendelson got a call from an advertising agency called McCann Erickson. And it was Coca-Cola that wanted to sponsor an animated Christmas special. So they called producer Lee Mendelson and basically say, hey, look, we're ready to sponsor a animated Christmas special. Now, Mendelson had talked to them previously and had failed, by the way, to convince that particular agency to sponsor a Peanuts documentary. This time, though, he told them, look, the characters, this will be a perfect fit. Okay. So he calls up comic strip creator Charles Schulz, also known as Sparky. And he told him that he had just sold the idea of a Charlie Brown Christmas to these sponsors. And they basically would have essentially mere months to write, animate, and of course bring the special to air. Oh, Mark, if you have them, that would be fantastic. I would love to see pictures. Send them to me at fans@AmericanPerspective.online. So Mark over on Facebook says, hey, Rick, I think you need to see some of my Peanuts caricatures on wood, all hand-drawn and painted. I would love to see that. Coco, by the way, if you're planning on making fresh eggnog, send me the recipe, please. I've always wanted to learn how to do that. So thank you. All right, back to the to the conversation at hand. So what ended up happening, though, is that Schulz, Mendelson, and the animator, Bill Melendez, they worked really, really fast to piece together a storyline. Now, Schulz wanted to tell a story that cut through all of the glitz of holiday commercialism. He was against the holiday commercialism. He was a little irritated over the idea of somebody like Coca-Cola actually sponsoring the special, but obviously he kind of got over that. But he wanted to tell that particular story, and he wanted to focus on something deeper. Okay? And so what he ended up doing, or what they ended up doing, is they pieced together this idea, which essentially that the plot points would essentially be things like this. Snoopy tries to win a Christmas lights contest. Lucy names herself the Christmas Queen in the neighborhood play. And Charlie Brown, of course, searches for the real meaning of Christmas. Now, all of that was fine. In fact, all three of them agreed on all of that. However, the last, or the pinnacle of the story, the peak, if you will, okay? The peak was essentially the speech of Linus. And not only that, but they also, at the same time, most of the animated shows and things like that back in that time were also, they had laugh tracks with them. They were upbeat. They were, exciting. They were funny. They were more so than what was produced. And for the first time also, too, the team brought in a group called the Vince Guaraldi Trio, and they put jazz to it. Now, that had never been done before. They also insisted on using real children's voices to voice the characters instead of adult actors. The idea, of course, was to give the characters authentic and simple charms. Schulz, again, like I said, refused to add a laugh track. He wanted to make the sincerity of the story stand out. And he wanted it without artificial prompts for the laughter. Now, here's part of the problem. Mendelssohn and Melendez disagreed with Schultz on Linus's speech. And when they were sitting there talking about it and referencing it and saying, you can't necessarily put the Bible into TV, because that's what Schultz wanted to do. Now, keep in mind, Schultz had already done this in the Peanuts comic strip. He had already done this with the Bible. In particular, the story of the birth of Jesus Christ. And they originally didn't want to air it. When they finally put the whole thing together and presented it to the studio executives, they didn't really receive it very well. But they had no other choice, because the time was already bought, the sponsor was already online, and everything was already basically done. And so they aired it. They went ahead and aired it on, I believe it was December 9th, 1965. It became a classic instantly. It became an instant classic and ran for another 20 years on one station. Sorry, ran over 50 years, my bad. Ran over 50 years on CBS, then ran for an additional 19 to 20 on ABC. And now Apple TV Plus picked it up and has it for streaming. People loved the show, and it became an instant classic. It airs quite often. I know it's on places like Amazon Prime and things like that, and we watch it every year, or at least we try to. But the thing that made it stand apart was the speech by Linus. And Linus's speech comes directly from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2. Now, without any further ado, I would like to play that speech for you so that everyone can understand the true meaning of Christmas.
You've been dumb before, Charlie Brown, but this time you really did it. What a treat! I guess you were right, Linus. I shouldn't have picked this little tree. Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about. Lights, please. And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. The glory of the Lord shone round about them. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not. For behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is what Christmas is all about. It's not about the gifts. It's not about the lights. It's not about the season itself. It is all about the fact that Jesus Christ came to this earth as man to save us ultimately for all of our sins and clean us from all of our sins as a whole, from all the way back to the original sin. That is what the season is all about. So tomorrow night, and for Christmas, okay, take a moment, if you are of mind, take a moment to thank the Lord for giving us his Son as a most precious gift, for us to be able to enter into the kingdom of heaven when all is said and done here on earth. Remember him, enjoy your family, and count your blessings for everything that has been given to you because of that sacrifice. Remember this. Even after you've unwrapped all the presents and everything else, even before, give thanks to the Lord God for what he has provided us. And that he gave us his gift of his only Son. I'm losing my lights here, so that means that it's time for me to go. I wish all of you, every single one of my Whiskey Warriors, and your family and friends, and even my guests, I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. We will see you on Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Excuse me. Sorry. Enjoy your holiday, and we will see you when we come back. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.